I'm excited about today.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Me too. This is the first podcast I've done, but I love listening to podcasts. I listened to one of yours with Wendy York. Inspiring. They're always fun. You learn something new, and there's always just something interesting that you didn't think you would have really taken out of hearing a podcast for some reason. But
I agree with you completely. So I'm excited because I know, Logan, that you are a part-time working professional MBA student. And how far along are you in our program?
I am just over the halfway point. I guess final grades. I've just officially submitted everything for all spring classes. So I think we're done. Those came away great. Really enjoyed those 2 classes that I took with you, and my analytics statistical course was great, to much of my surprise. So just over halfway. I think we have about 5 or 6 classes to go.
Wonderful that you're making progress. Well, as you are about this halfway point, and of course you're continuing to work in the medical field, tell me how your job has been affected by COVID-19.
Sure. We're still going. As a healthcare professional, my company is on the front line, and I serve hospitals throughout the United States. Specifically, my territory is the Southeast, and I'm typically going in and out of hospitals, if not being on conference calls. So surprisingly, I found myself right here in this area, working full time from home and being on Zoom meetings. But I've found myself kind of in closer communication to just the hospital staff and in my current contacts more than I would be if I were going in and out of meetings in a hospital setting.
Interesting. So you've been able to stay connected and even more, I think I heard you say, in some aspects.
Yes, ma'am. This is a crazy time. So, of course, everybody's adjusting goals on what they're doing for 2020. And just being able to talk to these healthcare professionals in different large healthcare organizations around the country, I've been able to kind of find the PPE problem, the personal protective equipment problem, and whether there's been a lack thereof supply or whether orders have not been fulfilled. It's really allowed me to kind of gain some insight on the needs right now that these healthcare organizations are facing during COVID-19.
And that kind of leads me to my next question. And one of the reasons I wanted to interview you today, because I feel like you're one of those individuals, and I've interviewed a few others, that during this time you've had kind of a response to what's happening beyond maintaining the status quo. And your response happened around, I think, a Bill Gates challenge that he put out. And he encouraged people to learn from this and to look for opportunities in this, and really, what could you be doing? So, and talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, you set out that little extra credit module to respond to Bill Gates and his pretty much challenge to us as to simply recognize, to be open and to learn during this time, because there's going to be a lot of useful ways that we're going to change business during this time that we're going to. Probably the industry might just carry it along with them, even when we maybe get back to normal a little bit. So I think that is just such an inspiring way to look at any situation, even a pandemic such as this, is keep your eyes open to learn, keep your ears out to hear on how you can kind of serve other people. And so I responded to that discussion. I'm in the healthcare industry and a healthcare professional, so I was passionate about it, of course. You inspired me to really do something about it because you responded to my discussion submission, and you said, "Well, you sound pretty passionate about it, Logan. Why don't you do something about it?" And I thought that was, I was kind of taken aback at that at first, but I said, Gail's right. What can I do? So I begin kind of putting some pieces together and to try to see if I could come up with an idea.
And so from that point on, what you did was pretty significant. Tell us how you made that idea come to life. What was your first step and what did it look like?
Well, so I had a couple of good friends who are very into computers, brilliant computer people. And they happened to cut this material that is FDA approved to go in and for healthcare professionals to use inside of an operating room setting. So you probably have heard of the K95 mask and the different kind of masks. Well, there's also a type of visor that even I could wear or you could wear into an operating room and be protected. And so this material my friend deals with every day. He cuts for this particular engineering firm in the Southeast. And I just reached out to him and one of his buddies who works at the same company. I said, hey guys, that material that you guys, and I explained it to him, that you deal with every day, can you cut that into some specifications? And I gave him industry specification. He says, yeah, let me see if I can put this together and, get a hard drive that can cut this. And lo and behold, he called me back 3 hours later and said, hey, we can make 1,000 masks in 3 hours.
No way.
Visors. So it's just kind of crazy. It just so happened that he said, yeah, Mike, if you want to try to make something out of this, my company will bless it and give us the material at cost. And so with that blessing, we had an IFU. And then I had another buddy came in to the picture that I called up and said, hey, he's in the healthcare industry too. And I said, hey, can we work on maybe connecting with some of our contacts and seeing, just telling them pretty much these healthcare organizations, what we were also representing during this time. Mm-hmm. And this is what we have. And if we can help with PPE and visors, I know things are changing on a daily basis, but let us know if we can help.
Because you were seeing people as you were on the front line talking to people that were struggling to get these in hand. Is that correct? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. And the biggest frustration from these people is they had it on order, but a lot of these orders went unfulfilled. Mm. And so we're not making much at all of any kind of a margin on this as a business person. That kind of opened my eyes at first, but we're doing it for the service of being able to connect the dots with existing relationships in a healthcare field that is just needs PPE, personal protective equipment for the people who are on the front lines with this thing. And we saw an opportunity to do it, and already having some relationships kind of built, it allowed us to connect the dots faster. And to our surprise, they brought these machines home in one of their apartments, and they're cutting these visors right out of their apartments. And so we haven't this is in the beginning stages, and I just want to kind of keep that in mind, but we have had a few good big orders, but of course, maybe this can set up a relationship down the road where we can be another reliable source, to some of these healthcare organizations.
As you think about going forward and you're stepping into this space, kind of almost in a crisis response, you can almost imagine, though, going forward as the world maybe shifts and alters a little bit, there might be good reason that the market would be open up for a lot of need for this sort of protection for people in general, not just even healthcare workers. I'm sure that's something you all must be discussing.
Yes, ma'am. It's kind of funny you mentioned that with another idea that we tried to kind of make come to life. We've been really in contact with a lot of different grocery stores and grocers across the nation. And we got one of our biggest order from one of the biggest, Southeastern grocery chains. Just by protecting, again, it's not only just the people in the front lines, like you said, this is in grocery stores. This is on the streets to city workers. This is anybody who is having a kind of a firsthand experience with putting themselves outside of a social distance setting for a little bit in order to serve other people. And so there's been great interest and opportunity, and even outside of healthcare, because of course this is serving. PPE is a big talking point right now that just has not maybe been fulfilled, or whether it be from lack of fulfilled orders or material. But we simply just identified a need, and it should be exciting how it goes forward.
Logan, tell me this. What have you learned in your MBA so far that might be helping you in this endeavor? And you're about halfway through, you said. So you've had several different professors and a lot of conversation, I would think, with working professionals.
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am. Clemson's MBA and my MBA experience has really just taught me how to open my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Even Wendy, the Dean of Business, when you had her on, she mentioned, you asked her the question, where do you see Clemson's College of Business in 5 years? And she immediately responded, innovation. We're going to recognize it, and everybody else is going to recognize it. So in a way, with this just humble experience, it's just kind of, I've seen myself just doing my part to serve. Mm-hmm. And it's been really gratifying just to be able to serve and present a solution to somebody, even if it's at no profit, barely to us at all. Mm-hmm. And that's, number one, been exciting. But Clemson's has taught me to bring an idea to life and connecting the dots. And with any idea, we have to make it come to life. And each step leads you to an answer and confirms the next direction to take towards bringing another idea to life. If no matter the case, if expenses become a large issue when you're trying to bring an idea to life, if that's an issue, go get a partner. Go get a partner. If you need web development, you know somebody through your string of circle of friends or business professionals that know a web developer, or even somebody in production, or manufacturing. There can never be a speed bump that holds you back from bringing an idea to life, because when you start answering the right questions, you always get an answer, and it always puts you in the direction to meet, your overall goal of bringing that idea to life.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's interesting with you, you're already in the medical field, you're already out there, you have the ability to build those connections, those relationships, and you then saw a pain point and a need. And that's usually where innovation starts, is trying to address something like that, and not being afraid to call on other people to help you, and not being afraid to put something out there and go the extra mile. So I have a feeling you might be a serial entrepreneur. Tell me, I know that you listen to a certain podcast every single morning for inspiration. Talk about that for a minute.
Sure. I like two podcasts. I like podcasts because I get up and going and walk for 45 minutes. That gets my blood going. That gets my mind going. That gets the creative juices of the brain functioning a little bit and hearing ideas. My favorite one is Jim Stingle's CMO podcast. Mm-hmm. I also like to listen to Michael Hawley's podcast. He has awesome interviews with leaders in sports and entertainment. But my favorite is Jim Stingle, and he was the old Procter & Gamble CMO mm-hmm. for a long time. And he interviews other CMOs. Mm-hmm. And from the likes of Heather, I believe, Manchek, who's the senior VP and CMO at Harley-Davidson. Andrea Zuhomitsky, she's the CMO at Kentucky Fried Chicken, one of my favorite places. And even the Barstool Sports, Erica Nardini, DraftKings CEO, was fun to listen to. Jason Robbins, and it's just always, it kind of has led me to how I've even kind of put things together about bringing this simple idea to life. Because when you listen to all these people, they all have sort of the same creative process of making something come to life. But each of them has to go through their own path. Each of them have to go through identifying what is the next step for their organizations to get to the goal of, and most of them are just, they come up, you have a great idea, and you just get people to buy in, or you reach out to the people who are experts at it, and partners come together, even in an organization, to make, an idea that gives you an answer to the next step. And that's just, I think people get so caught up with, oh, I don't know how to bring it to life. You just start answering the questions, and the rest is easy.
Yeah. I bet you had a great conversation with Robbie Fitzwater. Has that happened yet?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Robbie. So we initially kind of brought him up to speed on this idea with these visors that you were so interested about. And it's a great story, but I kind of wanted to talk to him more about the marketing space and another idea that we have that I'm trying to develop. And I'm at the pivotal point of, do I develop the platform or not? Or do I ask for a partnership in order for partners to help bring this to life? And currently I've reached out to Jason Robbins of DraftKings and also Barstool Sports. And so we have some initial talks there, but with sports down, it just kind of put that discussion to a slow. But one thing leads to another, and we'll see what happens when business comes back into session. And I have a feeling it's going to be pretty soon.
Yes, I have a feeling as well. I'm glad you connect with Robbie. He certainly is one of our chief marketing people. We have a lot of respect and admiration for his creative, personality. He's just great to be on board. So I know you'll enjoy working with him going forward. What advice would you have? You've shared a little bit of that, but for anyone listening who wants to, really get out there and create something, make something happen, or who wants to address a pain point like you did, or is there anything else you would want to tell them?
The most painful point is when we're trying to create something and taking a chance, is to do it. But the only certain thing, 100%, is that if you don't try it, it will not come to life. And so you just got to start with whatever you believe in, whatever you think might work, present. You start with the problem. What's the problem, and how can I build a solution around it? And if you can do that, if you can find a solution to somebody's problem, then you can begin to put the thought process together with, how do I make this come to life? Because there's obviously a need for it. And if there's a need for it, there's going to be somebody out there who's going to be interested in speaking to you in order to bring your idea to life. And I encourage everybody to never be, in order to share ideas, in order to get somebody to partner with you, do it in the least expensive way, you have to be transparent with your idea.
Yeah.
You have to tell them what you're doing. With Robbie, I told him exactly what I was doing, and he was the most constructive, useful criticizer. That I had a list of notes here that I need to get answered from Robbie, but there's going to be an answer for you all along the way. But you just have to start to connect the dots, start asking questions in order to make it come to life. And each step is easy because you will have an answer, and it will direct you to the next step for you to capitalize on. And it is a journey, and it is fun, and every single idea is different, and everybody's going to have a different experience. But you'll notice a lot of it is just, when you hear the process, it's like, oh, that was kind of like mine. And it's really simple.
Now tell me, you're in the fully online program, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You are? Okay. So you have been. So this has really not been a big change for you, the fact that we've been COVID, we've been strictly online, because you've done that all along in the MBA.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We're working full time. And it has just been such a joy to be able to take an online MBA and learn at my pace, whether it be 1 or 3 classes, and just the material and the way that Clemson has just welcomed learning into my life is, I know I had the undergrad. I did not work at the undergrad near as much as I worked at this MBA. I did not enjoy undergrad as much. Of course, this is 8 years later when I'm taking my MBA, but it has just been such a joy. And everybody at Clemson has just been such a joy. And I'm just so grateful to be in this program. And it's a wonderful institution. And I stand by what Wendy York says. This is a time of innovation. And a lot of things will come out of Clemson's online or MBA program, online or in the classroom. And the people are going to be bringing ideas to life. And in 5 years, I want to be a part of bringing ideas to life with Clemson, because they are the ones who really helped me open my eyes and inspire me with people like you to make something come to life. And as long as you start, retrospective outlook is maybe the rest. You're going to have a journey for sure, and it becomes easy and fun because you build partnerships along the way.
Oh, I'm so glad, and I'm glad that's happening for you. Even though you're in online classes, it sounds like you're connecting with other students. You're seeing, their thoughts and their reactions, maybe to your ideas. Because I definitely saw people reacting to what you shared in the online classroom with this idea. Right now, that's the idea of someone actually being able to produce masks, and we've seen the need. I do think that Clemson is family, and once you're part of this family, there's people are always there for you if you reach out, whether it's a professor or it's a colleague in the classroom with you. And I think you're smart to wait 8 to 10 years to go after the MBA, because now you really know how everything applies.
Yes, ma'am.
The case for you?
I think so. It has definitely opened my eyes. The MBA program, I tell you what, to be honest, I didn't have to try that hard in undergrad. I didn't have to try that hard in schooling, high school, but I really appreciate so much this education and for the first time, I'm most involved with it more than I ever have been. I don't know if that's because you have some working experience and you can apply it a little bit more to the real world. You have another source to apply it to outside of just being in school your whole life. And that's allowed me to really bring something back to the students and to the class. And share something from a perspective that maybe from my experience in the business world. And there's just so many things that I've learned at Clemson that I apply not only to the business world, but to life. And it's just been eye-opening, and I'm so happy that I'm doing it finally.
Good for you. Good for you. Well, we'll be celebrating with you when you walk across the stage and get that degree, which is not too far away. But we're definitely celebrating with you now that you've really stepped out there and helped create something that's needed in the world, and managed to do that while doing your regular job. So it's kind of heroic, in my opinion. And I know you're being very humble about it, but I just want to say thank you for going the extra mile. I saw that come out of your writing in the classroom, and I saw you start moving in that direction. So that was really exciting, and I do think it inspired the other 48 members of the classroom too, who are also reading that Bill Gates commentary on what can we make of this, what can we learn from this, what can we do now. And you just came back with here's what I'm doing. So I think everyone was inspired, and I thank you for that, because I think we all need some inspiration these days, and you did that for a lot of people in the classroom. So thank you for that. Any final thoughts you want to share, again, with anyone who wants to innovate or go back to school or just do something meaningful and useful right now?
Write down 3 questions that you can do right now to work on bringing your idea to life. But nobody tell you that it's not going to work, because you're going to have a lot of those. There will always be people that are going to be a naysayer. It doesn't mean you have to listen to them. If you believe in it, that's all that matters. And just be always transparent with people and tell them what you're thinking, why you're thinking that, how you came up with that idea. Because the more you explain and give them an explanation, you've given them also an opportunity to connect with you and connect with your idea. And maybe they want to now offer something to you in order to help you bring your idea to life. We learn so much about going through each of step and processes when we work individually with each other. But this is, even in an online setting like this, I learned so much from other people. And it is just so important. There can be don't ever let it cost ever be the speed bump to bringing your idea to life too. Look, I'm dealing with people who have now set up a computer hard drive and are cutting FDA approved protective pieces of equipment out of their apartment. And it's just, you always just got to be willing to work with somebody else with your idea. Don't keep it into yourself. Share it.
Share it.
If you're that concerned about it, maybe talk about it. NDA. You don't have to get there. No, just partner with other people and help bring your idea to life.
And Logan, I have to ask you this before we start closing up. What kind of production are you all looking at now? Are you all kind of ramping up production? Or are you just kind of keeping kind of steady? Where are you at right now?
Yes, ma'am. So far we've had to begin production inside actually the company building after hours because of a few large orders that have come in. But if there's something like, because it's a minimum order quantity, really, we're trying to get out there with 1,000 pieces at a time. It allows us to help. It allows us to be efficient out of just a small working space. But if those humongous orders do come up, of course, we have figured out a way how we're going to be able to meet those needs and meet them overnight. And so we hope to be able to fulfill an order that is kind of ongoing right now for maybe 200,000 visors of PPE equipment for a hospital affiliation across North America. And that's in the preliminary stages. But even if it's not, it's whatever's beneficial to them at this point. That's why we've created this solution. We're not looking to make any, make ourselves rich. We are strictly meeting a need that's out there right now. And if it becomes where the quantity is above where we can typically manufacture right now in our apartment, then we have that extra plan that we've been blessed by the company.
Yeah.
With their IFU, and they said, come in after hours. And if you guys need more masks for North America or the world, whatever, we'll open it up to you. You guys work here. You can go home when you want.
I love that. I love that your company was so gracious and understood, the need of what you were trying to do. So if anyone wanted to reach out to you, is that information you'd want to share? Would that be best on LinkedIn, or how would they reach you?
Sure. Well, my Clemson Gmail is mirby, @g.clemson.edu.
Okay.
And my business phone that is strictly for this particular project, and I'll be happy to tell it to you. Feel free to text me with any questions. It's 863-698-6254. I'm also on LinkedIn at Logan Irby, last name IRB as in boy, Y.
Logan Irby, you are a hero, and we love you for it. And we just thank you so much for giving us some time today. And we appreciate all that you and your colleagues are doing. And we wish you great success in everything.
Well, thank you so much. So I'm just so grateful for you, for Clemson, for my students who inspire me too, my fellow students and the institution. And I just can't wait to keep you up to date on what's happening next.
We totally want to hear more. Okay.
All right.
Thank you. Take care, Logan.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.